manager here at Lion Country Safari, and I would like to introduce you to some of our team members here. And we're going to be doing a really special encounter for our Lori. So let me go ahead and I'm going to flip over the camera. Alrighty. So Denise, can you tell us a little bit about the Lories?
Sure. The Lories, they come from Australia. There are many different species of Lories. They're all considered rainbow Lories, but they're all broken down. If you look at them, well, not these two, but if you look at them, they have different colorations and you can tell who's who. They generally live about 25 to 30 years. They eat nectar from the flowers that they find in the wild. Here at Lion Country, we have a commercial nectar that we feed them that gives them all the nutrients they need. So these guys, they do not eat seeds. They eat fruits, and they eat nectar, and they will also eat vegetables.
And what is a daily life for our Lories here? How do you take care of them?
The Lories, if you look over here, you can see that is a night house. All those little doors on there, they'll open up at the end of the evening. All the birds will fly in. They'll get their dinner, which is nectar, and they'll get fruit, and they'll get these little tiny colorful pellets that are made for Lories as well. Everybody will stay in there overnight. Then first thing in the morning, we'll open those little doors. Everybody will come out into the exhibit. They'll hang out here all day. They'll interact with people, which they love. They're missing them right now. And out here, the people can feed them nectar. We also offer them fruit while they're out here, and they'll just fly around. They'll engage with each other and just do their normal bird things, take a bath, fly around, sleep. And that's about it.
So Chelsea, can you give us some adaptations about the Lories? I'm actually going to flip the camera a little bit differently here. So go ahead, Chelsea.
Yeah, sure thing. So lorikeets, like Denise was saying, they love to eat nectar. In fact, lorikeets have a very cool adaptation on the tip of their tongue. Their tongue is brush-like. And it's really long, and it helps them get down into that flower to get that nectar. They're also a type of parrot. So parrots are characterized by having what's called a curved, hook-shaped beak. So you might see as our Lories fly around, their beak is got a little curve to it. For normal parrots, that helps them crack open nuts and seeds. But as Denise said, they don't like really hard shells. They're going to be eating more of the softer fruit. They also have what's called zygodactyl feet, which is 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back. So they're really good at climbing with their feet and holding food in their feet and bringing it up to their mouth. So those are some really neat adaptations physically. Behaviorally, they hang out in really big flocks. They're also really loud. I'm sure you guys can hear the lorikeets screaming. This is nowhere near as loud as they can be. And they have to be that loud so that way they can find their friends out in the rainforest or the mangrove areas that they like to live in. And it also helps them call out if they see any danger nearby to alert the rest of the flock.
Now tell us a little bit about this habitat. Is this habitat native to kind of what it would look like in their natural areas?
Sure. So at Lion Country Safari, we try and make it look as wild as possible where these guys are found. So you can see that we have a lot of different plants in here. We have this huge tree that the lorikeets love to sit in and play with. You might also see very different objects hanging around. Some of them are really brightly colored. That's called enrichment. So enrichment is something that we do for all of our animals here at Lion Country Safari. So you might not see some of the bees hanging in their natural habitat, but it's a way to keep them thinking, keep them occupied, and they really like to play with it. So you can see we have bees. We also have an ostrich egg hanging up in here. So all different fun activities that our keepers come up with for our birds.
Now, is this area open to the public?
So right now our walkthrough is not open. We do have to follow social distance protocols. In fact, even while we're here, we're keeping 6 feet away from each other. 'Other. But once we do get the all clear to open back up, we will This is usually one of those areas that people can come in, walk around, have lorikeets land on you, and you get the opportunity to feed our lorikeets.
So as you can see, boys and girls, I'm actually going to lift this up a little bit. You can see that the lorikeet, they love to fly on top of heads, and they're always very interested. Denise here has some food for them, so that's why you can see they're all about Denise right now. And since this area is currently closed, you are going to be able to see how they are flocking more to the camera and to our team here, just because they love all the social interaction. So Denise, do you have a favorite lorikeet?
My favorite lorikeet, he's not actually in here. He's over in the Howdy. That's Taz. He is a yellow streak lory. He's one of our oldest residents. He's around 28 years old. He's kept over there because he's a little bit older, and it can be a little rough being a part of the flock. Sometimes they like to fight or quarrel with each other, and since he's older, he's not as strong and young and energetic as the others, so we keep him over there with a friend, so he's still a part of the flock, but not in any danger.
All right, thank you so much. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to see about putting the camera here, and I'm going to have Marissa take over a little bit on the filming. So Marissa, can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on in the habitat?
We do have some chickens as well in our habitat. Now these chickens we actually have trained to do some really exciting things, and we're going to show you that today.
I also want to mention too, I just want to make sure that everybody can hear us. I know the lories are very loud, but we do have the team members' mics. And then we also have one of the landscaper crews that we're trying to get a hold of. But if you can hear us, go ahead and just write in the chat box here that you can hear us okay. Oh, perfect. Awesome. All right. So it looks like everybody can still hear us. So those microphones are working well then. So before we show you our other special guests that we have here, as you might be able to see there, you have a little bit of the silky chickens walking around here. And we have a special treat for you today. But one of the questions that just came in is there a way that we can tell these lories apart, Denise? How can we tell the difference? And if you mind just getting a little bit closer here, the camera, that way they can see.
Well, seeing that they're different subspecies, if you can see, there's a band on his leg. Everybody in here has a band, and the band has a number, and we have that in our records. So we know their name, we know their medical history, when they were born, anytime they were sick. We can follow them all throughout their life.
And how is that? I see that little black tongue. What is that little tongue doing?
That tongue, like Chelsea was saying, it's a brush, and they rub it over everything, and they can taste things, and they can collect food as well.
Do they like touching the skin, or is it picking up salt, or?
Right now, because it's so hot and humid out here, everybody is sweating, and yes, lories do like the salt. So yes, if you do come in here and it's a hot summer day, they will spend a lot of time licking your skin because they like the sweat.
So Chelsea, why don't you go ahead and show us a little bit about the chickens that we have here, and how do the chickens and the lories get along in this habitat? Would you be able to see them in the wild together, or?
Yeah, sure. So the kind of chickens that we have in here are called silky chickens. They're actually a species that's from Asia. So not really going to be around where the lorikeets are found, but the reason why we have them in here is sort of pest control. They kind of keep the lorikeets safe by eating up any bugs that might come in. So we have one silky here, that's agave. Just giving her a little treat. These are mealworms, a type of bug that's still in its larval state. And you can see she really likes those mealworms. Get her a little bit closer to the camera. We do have another silky in here. Her name is Cuervo. Cuervo seems to be interested in the other side of the habitat, but that's okay.
So there's a lot of thought that must go into designing this habitat then, right, Denise? Because you have to have certain plants in here. You have chickens to help eat the bugs, and then you have the lories in here. So is this something that the wildlife team gets together and they do a lot of research when it comes to designing these areas?
Yes, because it's kind of its own little unique habitat, you know. So we have the ground dwellers, the chickens down here. They do everything on the ground. They scratch, they weed, they eat bugs. They're our free pest control. Then we have the lories. They're going to stay higher up, and they're going to use the airspace where the chickens aren't, and the public can feed them, and they just have a good time. So yeah, any animal that we think of to put in here, it's going to have its own purpose and its own place in this little system. And of course, we want them all to get along. So even though they might not come from the same area, they can still work together.
That's very interesting. So Chelsea, are you going to show us a little bit about what you're doing with the chickens here? Why is it important to do training and behavior training?
Sure. So we use training for a number of reasons, mostly to check on the animal's health. We get our animals excited to participate in their own health care. Another thing that we do with training is a form of enrichment. It keeps them thinking, keeps them on their toes. They're always wondering what we want them to do or what we're asking them to do. And it's also fun for our guests when they come and visit and they see the animals doing something that they might not have expected to see. So our chickens are part of our training program. They've been trained to hop through hoops. They know how to hop up on our little bench in here. And Cuervo, if I can get her attention, Cuervo actually knows how to spin in a circle. Now, of course, now that she's on camera, there she goes. And then she gets a reward for being such a good little chicken. Oh, she saw the corn.
Now, do the lories usually interrupt the type of training that you're doing here, or do they want to be a part of it?
All the time. Lorikeets are very curious animals. They like to be in everyone's business. So you can see the cup that I'm using to hold their treats in. The lorikeets love this cup. They want to know what's in it. They want to peek inside. So when training these guys, we had to learn how to work around the lorikeets for training the chickens. Even a little funny story is when we were training the chickens on placement, we were trying to use little colored paper and to show them where to stand, and the lorikeets decided to run off with the paper.
So boys and girls, I don't know if you could hear, but so I do the lorry as I'm filming, because I have the camera switched around so you can't see. The lories are flying all over me, and there was one right next to the camera that kept going, hello, hello. So if you did hear that, the parrot hello, that was definitely from one of our lories here. So what I would like to do now is we're going to answer some questions here, but we're going to have the teacher call upon the students, and you're going to write some of your questions in the chat box there once your teacher calls on you, and then we'll be happy to answer anything. And you can see even here how this lorry is all over Chelsea's hair. It's a very common occurrence. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to go ahead and let your teacher. So are there any chicken eggs? So do we have any chicken eggs?
Not that I know of. Denise, have you heard of any chicken eggs coming in yet?
The girls do lay. We don't let them sit because the lories will try to take over their nest and it'll just cause commotion. So we do pull the eggs when they lay. Yes, they do. They don't have any right now, but they do lay.
What other questions do we have for you all that we can help answer? I'm going to go ahead and put the camera over here, Denise, just because they're all over you. So with their tails, does that help them balance? Because it looks like their tails are a little long here. Does that help with them balancing, or is there a reason why their tails are so long?
When they're walking around and playing and stuff, the tails don't really play too much of a part, but when they're flying, it plays a huge part. It's kind of like a rudder on an airplane. It helps them turn, it helps them rise, it helps them lower.
Now, do they come in different colors?
Yes, I have two different kinds right here. I have a red nape and I have a blue mountain. And you'll see they generally have the same colors, but the placement is different. So if you look very closely, you can see this one has more of an orange chest and an orange ring around the neck. This one has a green ring around the neck and its chest is a little more red. So there are slight color variations. If you look closely, you can tell.
How many flocks, how large are their flocks in the wild?
In wild, there can be hundreds of them.
Hundreds?
They're considered a pest in Australia because they'll descend down onto crops and they'll just destroy them because the flocks are so big.
You look like the bird whisperer. Are they aggressive?
They can be. Anything with a mouth can bite. Most of these birds, they're used to people. The majority of them were hand raised, so they're used to us. So biting can occur, but generally these guys don't.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple more questions and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. And if anybody has additional questions, you're more than welcome to email us. We'll have our friend Eva provide that email down at the bottom. Are all these lories, is this a multiple flocks in this habitat or is it just one large flock?
Just one large flock. Everybody lives together day and night.
See if I can get a little bit closer up here. And what is their bite force, Chelsea?
It's not very strong. Like macaws, they can have anywhere from 500 to 1,000 pounds per square inch, depending on the species. These guys are going to be nowhere near that. Like Denise said, they don't eat hard-shelled nuts. They can't crack it open, so not too high. I don't know the exact number, but it's not very high.
All right, boys and girls, well, we do want to thank you all so much for joining us here at Lion Country Safari in our Lorikeet habitat. If you all have any other questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those for you. You're more than welcome to email us. And we all hope that you have a very wild day. Thank you for joining us.